and welcome to the June 27th meeting of the Auburn Board of Selectmen. This meeting is being recorded. Is anyone else in the audience also recording? Seeing none, just want to say that this meeting is being operated under a hybrid system. I don't have the speech with me right now to go through everything. We have one member participating remotely. Mr. Carpenter, could you just let us know that you are able to hear?
I can hear you.
All right, thank you. If no one else is recording, can we stand for the pledge?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just for purposes only. Can you hear me first? Is it going out? So I know it's a remote meeting and we weren't anticipating that till recently, so just to cover ourselves, I can just say that Mass General Law allows us to have the remote meeting participation through July 15th of this year under the current legislation. So we do have one member that is participating, as you said, remotely. It wasn't planned that way, so as you said, it would have to be a roll call vote for this evening, but we just want to make sure we make the statement ahead of time. Also, just a reminder on that topic that my understanding is the legislature is considering extending that date, but it hasn't, at least as of Thursday, it hasn't passed yet. I haven't seen anything yet if it's coming. So we'll keep our eye on it and let you know. But until then, after July 15th, we're not allowed to have it.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we have one person signed up under public comment. Dorian Goodrich, you want to step up?
Thank you, Mr. Acting Chairman. So I looked at the agenda and didn't say anything, so I figured I'd come up and sign up under public comment. But I heard at the last meeting, which I had heard through the grapevine, that this is your last meeting. So I just wanted to be here to congratulate you on the work you've done over the years. I mean, you came in, the youngest selectman ever elected, and, you know, hit the ground running. You know, you worked on the plastic bag ban, which was important to you and ultimately important to the residents and the businesses, and everything that you've done, you've approached with professionalism, and we appreciate that. I wish you continued success in your future endeavors, which we know what that will be, but you've been a great selectman, and this may take you away for a few years, but my sense is you'll be back in some form or fashion because public service is in your blood, and I know that, and I see that, and you truly have made a difference in your 5+ years on the board, and you should be very proud of yourself. So congratulations, you'll be missed.
Thank you. And thank you for coming in just to say that. I do appreciate it. All right, under public hearings and presentations, we have Global Ventures Group, Inc. At 772 Southbridge Street for a motor vehicle class 2 and auto repair license that's scheduled for 6:30. Is the applicant here? Is there a motion to open the hearing?
Make a motion to open the hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
By roll call vote, Mr. Chambers.
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter.
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. If you want to you can come up to the table and tell us a little bit about the application and name and address for the record.
My name is Joseph Bacassi. I'm the Vice President of Global Venture Group, DBA Lux Auto Plus. We've been operating in Auburn for the past 7 years at 525 Washington Street. Our lease is currently up, and rent factors, the way that our lease was structured was 3 years with extensions. Each extension the rent does incrementally go up. So whereas, unfortunately, Michael Perro had passed away over the past couple of years at Perro Automotive, their building is currently empty. So instead of continuing with a with a rent increment. We'd like to move down to an existing auto dealer group, which is Paro's Automotive at 720, and 722 is what it's at. They're already an existing auto group there. It's just a smaller facility, much lower rent factor, and yet we still need to stay in the community. We've been sponsoring Little League, the ice rinks, the softball teams, and we hate to have to leave the community after 7 years of sponsorship. So the building's available. We signed a lease on it, and it's a current auto facility with auto repair use. So we're just simply seeking to transfer our license from 525 to 720.
Great, thank you. Do board members have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. Thank you. Is there a motion to close the hearing?
Make a motion to close the hearing?
Is there a second?
There's a second, but have we asked for abutters?
Turn to the town manager on that. Have abutters been notified?
I do have the notifications. We did send them all out.
But I don't see any of
And
them.
Mr. Chairman, I was just wondering if anybody was on the phone or in person who
I
might want to, before we close the hearing.
Yeah, there are no abutters in the audience. And I don't think there are any on the call. It's just we're the only ones on the call. But I'll check then. Anyone abutters? Nope.
And I'll second the motion.
By roll call vote, Mr. Chambers.
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. Is there a motion on the license?
I gotta read this statement?
Yeah. Is there a motion to approve the motor vehicle class 2 license and auto repair license provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled? Said license are subject upon it to the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with the license with any and all the conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void, and with the conditions of the DCG to be placed on the license.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
A roll call vote, Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So moving forward, would come to the town to get the licensing? Is that what?
Yes, through the chair, we will send you something to our office, and you don't have to come in and sign it, but we'll take care of it in our office administratively.
Okay.
Actually, it's a person I think you might have worked with her.
Yes.
Yes, we'll
Yep.
just work with Rachel, and she'll make sure that we have that license signed for you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Great, congratulations.
Thanks, you too. All right, the communications, we have none. Select board general items. Oh, outdoor entertainment license, Boston 25 News at Pack Job Golf Course. So we have those application packets.
Through the chair, if you'd like, I can explain. There are two items on here that we put on here for the upcoming Boston 25 News zip trip that is being held on July 22nd at the Packagug Golf Course. So it's an exciting event. It will be outside at the golf course, and as such, they will be having some speakers with some music. They're not having live entertainment that we're aware of, but just to cover our bases, we wanted to make sure that they had an appropriate outdoor license if there was any kind of amplification for the speaker system. Likewise, the second item is for the same event, and it is an open air license, which we require when a private party puts an event on at a public property. It's just the board's license. So those are the two events. Once again, it's the Boston 25 News Zip Trip, and they will be setting up early in the morning, obviously respectful of neighbors. And the program generally starts, I think, somewhere between 7 and 8, where they start interviewing people and highlighting businesses and individuals and groups from the town of Auburn. And it runs until 10 in the morning.
Is the applicant present or?
No, they're not.
Okay. All right, are there any questions or comments from board members?
No, no, no.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
Okay, this one I have to read.
Yeah. Start from the approve or deny.
Alright. I'll make a motion to approve the license provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void with the conditions of the DCG to be placed upon the license.
Is there a second?
Second.
By roll call vote, Mr. Chambers?
Aye?
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. And is there a motion on 5B?
I'll make a motion to approve the license provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void.
Is there a second?
Second.
By roll call vote, Mr. Chambers?
Aye?
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. Passes by unanimous vote.
All right.
Thank you.
Moving on. Town of Auburn Senior Center one-day beer and wine license. We have the application there as well. Is anyone here for the senior center?
I can handle that one, thank you. So, as you can see in your packet and from the application, we are in the process of planning for a 50th anniversary, hard to believe, 50th anniversary yet, of the Lorraine Wick Warburton Senior Center at 4 Goddard Drive on September 22nd, 2022. The event will be an open house type setup, and it will run from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And the senior center and the Council on Aging and the Friends of the Senior Center would like to have a one-day beer and wine license, so we can have a nice event at the senior center at that time. We have enclosed the town employees who are certified for serving, as we've done at the golf course in the past years with the one-day beer and wine licenses. So under the ABCC requirements, this does not need to go to the state for approval. This just goes to the licensing authority, which is the Board of Selectmen, on the one-day beer and wine.
Do board members have any questions or comments?
So I see that the room shows where they'll be serving, they're not serving outside, there will be no consumption outside.
That's correct. When you get the one-day beer and wine license, you have to show the premises that you're going to be serving in, and correct, it would not be outside. If it were to be outside, you would need another permit as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Doreen Goodrich again. I actually am assisting with this event. I'm really excited about it. As you said, it's going to be an open house, and they plan to serve food, which I'm assisting with, hors d'oeuvres and light desserts and stuff. And I certainly think that having beer and wine to accompany these refreshments would be a great addition to a wonderful celebration of the 50th anniversary. And I hope that people are paying attention and get involved and come to this wonderful celebration. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's nothing else from any members or members of the public, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the license provided all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void with the conditions of the DCG to be placed upon the license.
Second.
By roll call vote, Mr. Chambers?
Aye?
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. All right, we have the Fairfield Inn and Suites, 718A Southwood Street, hotel motel license. Yeah, members, or, I'm sorry, the applicants, I'm guessing, present. So we'll take, we don't need to open a hearing. So yeah, I'll invite you up to come talk about it. I'm sorry. The chair isn't here today, and I didn't get much prep, so I'm just.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. So, yeah, we've been in the town for 17 years, and we're closed due to the small two-room fire that we had in the attic, and we're also undergoing full renovation for the 7-year renovation that's required by the brand. So we've completed all of those repairs by working with the building, fire, and the Board of Health. And we're really excited to reopen with a completely gut-renovated facility, and look forward to your support in getting this back in the business.
Thank you. Board members have any questions or comments?
So I'm assuming this has gone through all the permits, everything's been signed off except for the 2 conditions placed upon it?
Through the chair, that's correct. The building commissioner would have to issue his approvals for the occupancy permit to once again reopen.
Okay, no further questions.
All right. Mr. Carpenter, any questions?
Not at this time.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the license provided that all applicable requirements of the state, town, and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all of the conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void, and with the conditions of the DCG placed upon the license.
Second.
A roll call vote. Mr. Chambers.
Aye?
Mr. Carpenter.
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. I'm guessing the next one for the common vicular license is also. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add.
It just allows us to have gatherings in the hotel.
Board members have any questions or comments on this license?
So I assume that everything's caught up, all up to date.
Through the chair, attached in the application for actually both of these licenses is the DCG recommendation. So this did go through DCG, and getting this is, if the applicant is required to obtain all necessary permits and inspections. So some he may have now and some he's going to need, but he won't be able to open until he does. There's a grease trap that'll be needed, there's an occupancy permit, so there are things that
There
he'll
are
have
things
to get before
outstanding,
he
I
opens.
just want to make sure, and I know it says it on the license, but,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
If there are no other questions or comments, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the license, provided all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void, and with the conditions of the DCG to be placed on the license.
Second.
A roll call vote. Mr. Chambers.
Aye?
Mr. Carpenter.
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Chair, may I ask, seeing as that would be the last group that's in here that's not from the public, we have our DPW director here for item 6A. If you would be so kind as to consider moving that item up.
Make a motion to move up item 6A.
Is there a second?
Second.
A roll call. Mr. Chambers.
Aye?
Mr. Carpenter.
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you. Have a good night.
So, through the chair, thank you for doing that. I'd like to ask our DPW director, Joanna Paquin, to come up and explain this grant in law. Joanna, if you want to
Yeah, you
sit
can
here
come
with
up
us.
to the table.
We are excited about this grant, and just, I had mentioned this to the board in the past, and I don't recall if I did it by email, so just for purposes of the public, we want to let the public know, and I know Mr. Chambers had asked some questions about it as well. So it's on the agenda. I sent the board members today a packet of additional information, and I want to hand this to you, so you each have a copy. And I'll give a real high-level overview, very basic, and turn to Joanna for the details, but I want to thank Joanna and Joe Fahey from the school department and Chief Todd Lemon and a number of people on Joanna's staff at DPW, the Assistant DPW Director and one of the engineers, put a lot of work into this. We were excited. We found out about this grant very last minute from the state, and they said that the focus was traffic management. And I think some of you have heard the chief say it, that one of the highest volume of complaints that they receive category-wise at the police department is traffic and speeding. So we thought this was a great opportunity to put together a grant. We did put it together. We made it in time for the deadline. The board did approve of us putting this grant in, and we were funded for 100% of what we requested, which was over $180,000. As of today, we have signed our side of the documents, but the state is still working on their end. So we can't actually start the project until the state executes the grant docs, which could still be several weeks. They said it was a very competitive grant, and they're still getting together everything that they need on their end to implement it. So with that being said, I'll let Joanna explain what the grant actually does, and you can probably refer to your locus map in that package that I just gave you. And for Mr. Carpenter, who's not here to have a hard copy, but he's online, we can explain it, and I know I had emailed it to you, Mr. Carpenter, so if you want a hard copy at any point, I'll keep one for you in the office.
Okay.
So overall, the grant is mainly a combination of more visible speed limit signs. So they'll be flashing so that to make people more aware of the speed limit. Then speed radar signs that actually measure the speed of the vehicle, as well as showing the speed limit, as well as actuated crosswalks. So, and these would be more situated in areas of town that have that we want to focus on the safety of the pedestrian public. So, more in line with the schools, as well as recreational areas like the Horgan Arena, Romancy Park, and the Pappas Complex. So as well as with the pedestrian signals, there'll be the button actuated pedestrian lights, as well as a more defined. Some of our crosswalks kind of need to be a little bit better aligned. So we would have additional handicap ramps installed with that. In addition to that, there's going to be equipment that the police will have for to detect speeding and record it as well with LiDAR technology, which I'm not really that well versed, but it's equipment that they need to be able to enforce the speed limits. So I don't know if you'd like me to get into more of the detail of the locations of the signs, but.
Well, I do have a couple of questions on that, because some residents have voiced concern, especially like Pinehurst, Oxford Street North, and Bryn Mawr. Just want to make sure that that's addressed. I mean, can't really tell from the map, so I just wasn't sure if that was covered in this. Just again, they reached out, so I want to make sure that's covered. I'm ecstatic that you guys put the work in and received this grant. So any improvements going to help us? If those are addressed, I'd like to hear that.
I was looking for the same thing. That's why I had Google Maps up and I was trying to.
So the majority of so there's a few areas in town that's addressed. West Street, which is in front of the new the middle school. Oxford Street North, which would be in front of the police station and the ice rink, that area. Swanson Road would be at both schools, at the Swanson Road Intermediate, as well as the Bryn Mawr School. Then Bryn Mawr Ave would be, Bryn Mawr Ave is at in that area of the Bryn Mawr School. And then Auburn Street would be at the daycare facility. Just because that it seems like there's a site distance issue, as well as more of a possibility of pedestrian activity. And then Packagug Street would be at the Packagug School, in addition to near the Pappas Complex. So I don't think that we would be addressing all of the streets. We were just more focused on the areas that would, we'd be looking at improving the public safety and
And through the chair, if I can add to what Joanna said, the focus of the grant and many of the questions that we had to answer, it was an electronic grant, so we had to do it all electronically and answer questions. But the state was looking to see if we were going to be doing speed management and traffic planning in the areas of schools, daycare centers, and elder facilities, so senior center and any senior housing. So as you can see here, in parks. So, and that was because of the youth and the children. So as Joanna said, it had to be focused on those areas. While we recognize there are many areas in town that would probably like to have additional speed control measures, this particular grant has to focus on those schools, playgrounds, and senior facilities that we identified in the grant.
Does a church count as any of that? Could it fall under it? And they have programs regularly. I mean, St. Joseph's is up on that corner of Auburn and Oxford Street. And I know they do things occasionally. Would that fall under the program, or is it specifically looking at it has to be a school or a park? Or
The grant questions were specific to parks and recreation, school facilities, and elder facilities.
Okay.
Churches were not a category that were mentioned in there. And at this point, the grant, these are the areas that we're focused on. We could change it. It would require a change in scope with the state to be approved. But that was not one of the questions on the grant application at the time. I know we had to identify the names and addresses of each of the schools, daycare centers. You can see it in the summary. The housing authority, the senior center, other housing authority properties, another senior facility, the Pappas Complex Boyce Street lot, and Lemansky Park. And it also asked for which areas might have been identified in their economic development plan that had been paid for by a grant from the state. And that plan did identify access to facilities, parks, and other spaces, so we had to tie it into that as well.
Again, I appreciate you guys going for that, and we'll look to address some of the other traffic concerns. I don't know if the police department has a tally of locations or something that for non-grant funded traffic concerns we can look to address as well.
Through the chair, if there are certain areas that the board is concerned about, they can ask us for a report, and we can go back and check with the chief and see if they have a report. There is police crash data that is used, and I think, is it called IMPACT? Is that it's a short acronym for the state's database that we do have access to, and that shows histories of accidents in every community. So we do have that information.
Okay, I appreciate it.
IMPACT, I'm sorry, it's called IMPACT.
And again, thank you for putting this on there. I know you guys have been doing a lot of work on it. I just want to make sure that, the residents are hearing about what's happening. And I know typically government doesn't always move as fast as we'd like it to, but again, for people to know that things are being worked on, it's just not happening overnight. I appreciate, again, the effort. And I'm assuming that they've reached out to other people in the past. I don't know for sure, but as the newest member, I wanted to make sure that they could see that you guys have been working on things.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
all right, sorry, I'm going to ask another one. So I saw a bunch seem to be on Swanson Road, which makes sense going to the school. I know that some residents take Murray Ave and kind of use that just as a walking area. Or they cross over, not really Murray Ave, but on that from Briarcliff across to Murray Ave down to Swanson. Do they all have to be within a certain distance of the school, so it makes sense to put all of them on Swanson Road? Would there be any benefit to moving it to that Murray Ave, Oxford Street corner, or would that be moving it too far, I guess, from a school to really fit the...
I can double check with Joe Fahey and Chief Lemon, but these were identified based on where the school sees the most pedestrian activity during school. when the children are coming back and forth, or through certain sporting events, where the police see the activity, where the schools see the activity, where the walking paths are for the children during the school day. So those were the areas that were prioritized. So my guess is, if that's the sections that the school felt that they wanted the signage, that would have been the areas that they chose. Is that, you
It-
had actually gone out and done the site?
We did. We went out onto the site. We looked at the areas, and we were. It was a combination. We relied heavily on Joe Fahey from schools as well as Chief Lemon. Based on what he's seen and he's heard from the residents and what complaints he's heard. So that was sort of the guidance, as well as the restrictions from the grant.
Thanks. Anything else from any other board members?
Good, thank you.
Sure, and I should mention, when we do get the go-ahead to do this, it's at that point that we can start ordering the signage, et cetera. And we have had this information up on our website because there was a public outreach effort, so we did put it up early on, and we can post it again, just to make sure the public's aware of where this signage and the traffic control issues will be, if you think that would be helpful.
If more information is helpful, I mean, it does, I could say going through, sorry, through the chair. Going through the website, I'm not telling you I'm technically savvy, but it's hard to find information. And I don't know how to necessarily resolve that, but I tend to default to it's a me issue than anything. So if it was on there and fell down, if you could bring it back to the top, that'd be helpful.
No, that's right, I think it was probably at the time we applied, which was maybe March or so.
Yeah,
Okay, this
it
was a
was
quick-
very early. and
This
it
is and it was a quick turnaround on the state side too, so we can put it up there again. It's, we had actually, as part of the commitment to the state, once you get approval for your grant, you just need to keep the public informed as to what you're doing and where you're doing it, so we will be doing that anyway.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing else from anyone else, yeah, then we don't need a motion, so, all right, thank you, Joanna.
Thank you for taking that out of order.
All right, under gift acceptances, we have none. Proclamations and recognitions. Vote to issue proclamation for our 100th birthday to Rita Simitis, on Dale Avenue. And the proclamation is in members' packets. So, are there any questions, or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the proclamation.
Is there a second?
Second.
By roll call vote, Mr. Chambers.
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
The chair votes yes. Let's vote. Vote to issue a proclamation for Tony Pellegrino to recognize his service as a CERT leader for since 2017. 2007, geez, I'm all
Right.
over the place tonight, I'm sorry.
That's, through the chair, I just, we found out just the other day that Tony Pellegrino, who again has been the CERT leader since 2007, is going to be stepping back from that role and retiring from that role. And he's just done a tremendous job on behalf of the town of Auburn. He's been an excellent leader. He's been great to work with CERT. So we thought it would be appropriate if the board voted to approve of a proclamation. We're in the process of working with the CERT team to see what the timing might be on when to present it and whether Mr. Pellegrino wants to be there in person or not. I'm told he's rather shy and shies away from public recognition, but even if he wasn't at a meeting or at an event, we thought it'd be nice for the board to issue the proclamation. It fits within your policy for issuing proclamations. We also have ordered him a plaque. That probably won't be done until the end of August or so. So we're hoping maybe after the summer, when people are no longer on vacation, that maybe we could find an opportunity to recognize him, whether it be at a board meeting or at a CERT meeting. It would be nice to thank him.
Board members have any questions or comments or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the proclamation for Tony Pellegrino and recognition of his CERT leader since 2007.
Second.
By roll call, Mr. Chambers.
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. Moving on, we have a
Thank you.
discussion and potential vote on the summer meeting schedule. So at our last meeting, I had mentioned that I won't be at either of these meetings. And Sarah had said that she wouldn't be able to make, I believe it was the one in August. Someone jump in if I'm wrong about that.
Correct.
So,
Through the chair, through the temporary chair, I'll say, I had a conversation with the chair prior to the last meeting, and just so everyone knows, these were the two dates that were regularly scheduled for the board to meet. We didn't pick an off date, and I think the recommendation of the chair at the time was to have it toward the end of the month, since you're having a meeting now, rather than having another one in 2 weeks and then waiting, say, 6 weeks or so. I would tell you that in August, it's probably a little quieter, because we're just past the start of the fiscal year. We have a lot of things that might come on the July meeting, and then again in the fall. So as long as you have a quorum for the 22nd, you could probably proceed. If there was something that was really critical that we have, we'd let you know and see if you would schedule another meeting on your regular night in August. And that way we'd ensure we have a vote. As you know, under our charter, you need to have 3 in the affirmative for anything to pass. So if you do get down to a night where you do only have 3 members for something to actually pass, you need all 3 to agree. So if there was something critical like that, and the chair may want to, at that time, postpone that type of item for the next meeting.
Well, it sounds like, yeah. Dan, would you be able to make the August 22nd meeting? I also feel weird voting on it since I won't be at either of them, but Dan, if you're able to, then at least they'll have 3 people for the 22nd.
As of now, I would say I can make, but obviously subject to work amendments, but I think it has been in 8 years, so I don't think it should do this up.
Well, with that, is there a motion?
If it's a reconsideration, I believe someone who voted in the affirmative has to make a motion to reconsider.
Oh, that's true. We did vote to tentatively. Could we
Yeah,
take
it was,
a vote?
I believe,
Yeah.
through the chair, Mr. Carpenter wasn't at the last meeting, and I think the chair just said that you could defer to this meeting and tentatively set the date if he was going to be available on August 22nd. Everyone at that time was available on July
Right, so,
25th.
okay.
I would say this, if you do schedule it and something were to arise, like anything else, we can always either find another date, a second date, at a later date. But for planning purposes, it would be good if we know here, we could make that a light agenda.
So do we need a motion for these
A motion to set the
25th
summer
and
schedule.
okay, so we do need that.
So I'll make a motion to set the summer schedule with the dates proposed, subject to change based on items of importance.
Is there a second?
Second.
A roll call. Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. With that, we have a vote to appoint a resident to the committee to recognize individuals who have contributed to the town of Auburn. I think that this is the only applicant that we got, and they just emailed the town manager and myself, Todd Crane from the planning board, and his email is attached in members' packets. So this would require unanimous vote for tonight. I think since he was the only applicant, I see no problem appointing him tonight and just giving that committee the full 3 members that it needs to get going and start doing what it was created to do. But if members want to hold off until there are more members, or Todd Crane is available to come into a meeting, I'm open to it. Don't know what the other 2 members are thinking.
I'll make a motion, we appoint.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded. By roll call vote, Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. All right, so that committee is established then. That's all three. All right, we've gone town manager items. We have the WooSox event, so I'll turn it over to the town manager.
Thank you. Just a brief update on the WooSox event that was held that was only a week ago. It was a week ago Wednesday. It was a great event. We were lucky. The weather was beautiful. I know some of the select members were there. It was really nice to have an event that was focused on Auburn like that. The park is beautiful. And everyone who participated seemed to be really thrilled to take part in it. So I double-checked with the WooSox just to see if they had any information they could share with us as a follow-up. And they sold a total of 546 tickets for Auburn night. Of those, 171 actually went through the fundraising link. If you recall, there was a link, and if you purchased your ticket that way, a $5 donation was made to the Tarantino Charitable Fund. They raised $855 from those tickets for the charitable fund. We also had participants in the ceremonial first pitches, plural, because there were a number of them. We had our school superintendent, and then we recognized our first responders and public health department and school nurses for all the work that they did during COVID. So we had one representative each from the fire rescue department, the police department, the public health department, and the school nurses, who actually got to throw a ceremonial first pitch along with the school superintendent. That night also happened to be a PTO fundraising night. So there was another event within the event. And it was really nice to see such a good turnout of Auburn residents, and I think everyone had a nice time.
Board members have any questions, comments?
Thank you for that. It was a great event, and it's nice to see people in town at an event like that. And I'd love them all to be in the room with us, but maybe we have to have a baseball game or something. But it was nice to see a lot of community members out and about. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Our pleasure for putting it together. It was exciting. Oh, and I should mention, I apologize. We had an Auburn sophomore who sang the national anthem, and from being there, he just did an outstanding job. And we've asked him to sing the national anthem at our Independence Day event, which I should just use this opportunity to say, it is this coming Thursday. The weather looks like it's going to be great. We're not going to have a rain day. But he'll be singing the national anthem at that event, and he did a great job. He had just beautiful voice.
Okay. We'll say that I was there on the grass. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see everyone. I was texting Julie wondering or just letting you know that I'd missed everyone. But it was great, even though the score didn't turn out so great for Sox.
I avoided saying that part of it. Yeah, they didn't win, but it was still really nice. And just a reminder of whether it's members of our community or other communities, the WooSox every Wednesday night through their season offers free tickets to first responders. They just have to bring some type of identification with them. And I believe they get up to, I think it's either 4 or 5 tickets. So it's a really nice feature on a Wednesday night for first responders, everywhere if they want to take their family or go with their colleagues. It's a nice event and a nice place to have an event. Thanks.
So if there's nothing else, move on to tabled items. Wasn't going to ask for a vote on either of these items tonight anyway, especially with 3 members. Since it would have to be unanimous, and once again, these are pretty big steps that the town could take. These are just things that I wanted the town to start thinking about, and the Board of Selectmen to consider as I'm leaving. So, we talked about, the former chair mentioned the plastic bag ban. It's something that I really wanted to get past and was happy that we were able to get done on my time on the board. I'd love to see the town continue to move in that direction, move towards biodegradable containers. And so there's just a note in the packet that gives a little bit of the reason as to why I think it's an important issue, and also a draft bylaw and some resources that might help people to understand it and consider it. I don't know if other members want to add anything to it tonight. One of them looks like he is itching to talk, so.
I'm just wondering, are you sure you don't want to ask for a vote tonight? No, I appreciate the resources, and we'll continue the discussion.
Mr. Carpenter, I don't know if you want to add anything. I know you weren't here for the discussion at our last meeting when we started talking about it. This is, actually, I think you mentioned a few years ago when we first brought up the plastic bag ban, we had talked about polystyrene or styrofoam and how it's almost as damaging. At the time, Dunkin' Donuts was still using their styrofoam cups, and I know you talked about those specifically. And of course, they've since moved on to their paper ones. But again, I don't know if you wanted to add anything tonight.
No, I'm good, thank you.
So like I said, this bylaw, we've got about 47 communities in Massachusetts that have already adopted something that's similar to it. I did essentially what I did with the plastic bag bylaw is I looked at the surrounding towns, looked at things that were similar. Shrewsbury has one, so that was an easy one to pull from again, and took the pieces that I thought would work for Auburn and made a very simple draft. Most stores are moving away from styrofoam and polystyrene anyway, so it's just good to help push people along in that direction. But if there's nothing else, you don't have to take any action on it.
Through the
Is there-
chair,
sure.
on a completely separate note, I should have said when I mentioned on the Independence Day, just if you don't mind, just to remind anybody. So the events start at 5 o'clock. We have some, children's games and a couple of small rides. We have some vendors there, some great food vendors, so plan to bring your appetite. The program, the speaking program, where we have the veterans come in and present the colors. We have the national anthem. We have a couple of speakers. That's around 10 minutes of 7, with the band starting at 7. So it's really brief speaking program just to let people know, how happy we are that they came. Our shuttles start at, I believe, 5 p.m. from Auburn Mall. So once again, Auburn Mall is a sponsor. They're allowing us to have our participants and attendees park at the mall. The WRTA, again, a great sponsor. They're providing buses for us and drivers. And AA Transportation, which is the school bus transportation company, they're also providing buses and drivers for us, which is no small feat in this economy with a workforce shortage to come up with drivers on a holiday and in the evening. So we're thrilled. So we will have our shuttle system. There's obviously some parking in that general area. We always send out a code red message from the police department. I call it a targeted geographic code red message. It goes to the streets that are in that area, letting those residents know that certain streets have parking on one side or limited parking. And the band starts at 7, and then the fireworks go off at 9:30. And then the shuttles will run until we get everybody out of the park after the fireworks, which generally go till about 10. So again, if there's any questions, we have all the information up on our website. I want to thank Bank Hometown also for sponsoring. They provided $2,500, which pays for the band, as well as some other things that we have at the park that evening. So we're thrilled for all of our sponsors. We thank them again, Auburn Mall, Bank Hometown, WRTA, and AA Transportation. And I hope I'm not forgetting anyone, not a sponsor, but certainly a partner, is the Packagug Church. They are just wonderful to work with. Reverend Dennis Knight has a cookout for his church members and kindly and generously invites any of the town employees who are working that evening to stop by and have a bite to eat. So it's just a really nice community event. We're thrilled to have it again this year after a hiatus due to COVID, so we're looking forward to it. So hope to see you there. Everybody wave.
Another lively one.
There we go.
Through the chair. You said you thank them, but what is there a formal recognition of thanks, or is it thank?
They're on all of the promotional materials. So we put their logo, we put it on the flyer, we put it on, it's on our website, it's on social media. Everywhere we post it, it's in some of our public buildings. They get the recognition that way. And then that evening at the speaking program, we again mention all the sponsors and thank them all.
I'd like to thank them as well.
Great.
All right. Next, we had the discussion on the fossil fuel investments. We continued this from the last meeting, so we wanted to find out more on on whether or not the town, the select board could move in that direction. Just say that I read through the charter, and my interpretation is that since the town treasurer was moved off the ballot and to a town employee that's actually hired to the town manager, I would think that that would put the select board in some control over that position, but I'll turn to the town manager to ask if there was any discussion with town council.
So, yes, Assistant Town Manager Ed Kazanovich had a discussion with Town Council, who, on initial look, said he would have to do more research to make sure he's giving the proper advice, but felt that there was a conflict with Mass General Law, not with the charter. That Mass General Law provides certain powers and responsibilities to the treasurer, and he didn't want to make that determination without doing further research on it, so he's going to continue to look at it. And I believe he had that conversation actually today with Mr. Kazanovich.
So with that, I just want to continue to table this item until we have a stronger understanding of it. But
Yes, he'll be doing the research and come back to us, hopefully with more of a definitive answer.
anything else from other members? Seeing none. We have no select board member items. Do members want to add anything? No? We have the minutes from 6/13/2022.
So Dan wasn't here. Did you vote on that, or?
We don't need to vote, just if there are any corrections or anything like that.
Correct.
We'll just accept them. And so seeing none, I just want to add something. There's only 2 days left to submit your flag designs to the flag committee. So if you haven't already and you have a design, you should get on that. And with that, is there anything else?
Yep, so I want to say thank you for your service to the town. I haven't been on the board long with you, but I've got to know you. I appreciate everything that you have done, whether we agree or not. You're certainly passionate, and I think the town really benefits from people such as yourself, and sad to see you go.
Thanks, I appreciate that. And I'm sad that I only got 3 meetings with you because they were a lot of fun.
Through the chair, I want to say the same thing, and I couldn't tell if Mr. Carpenter was going to speak, so forgive me if he was. I just want to thank you. You were great both as a member and as a chair. It was great to work with you. You've got some great ideas. You're always willing to look at a new way of doing business, and I think that's great. I think we should always be doing that. We appreciate it. We really are going to miss you and wish you the best of luck. And I agree with Mrs. Goodrich's comments. I have a feeling you'll be back in some capacity at some point, and it's a benefit to the town. Just, we want to thank all of our elected officials. As you know, it's just harder and harder to get people to have the time and make the commitment to running and serving. So all of you who are currently on the board, it is a time commitment. It takes away from your personal life and your family, and all of us in town administration, we do appreciate it, and we thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. All right, if there's nothing else. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
By roll call, Mr. Chambers.
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. Good night, everyone. Adjourned.
Thank you, Ray.